But I do feel like the biggest story to come out of Emergence is JBL's debut. That seems to be the thing that everybody is talking about right now. It really is. It's taken all of the conversation away from a 60-minute main event match, which they went 60 minutes in front of like 400 people. So kudos to them. But it really has taken all of the attention away from what Josh Alexander and Nick Nemeth did in the ring. But JBL after Nemeth retained the title against Josh Alexander, made his TNA debut. He has never been in the company before, and I don't know what's going on with the guy, but he is all over the place. He was in AAA with Nemeth. So I think they're bringing the act that they have in AAA, but they're a heel act in AAA, and I think that is telling too. But they're heels in AAA, and it looks like they're bringing that act to TNA. I just don't know that it's going to be a heel act. We'll obviously it'll play out on television. We don't know what's going on. But the JBL, former multi-time WWE champion, and from the early 2000s, he was kind of like on the back end. He was like on the this weird time in between the Attitude Era. Actually, it was like the Ruthless Aggression era. Might have been on the back end of that, but he was a tag team guy forever with the APA, and then all of a sudden he cuts his hair, gets rid of his black hair dye, and he shows up on SmackDown one day dressed like J.R. Ewing from the TV show Dallas. And that was the whole gimmick. And it was like he was an 80s kind of television character, but it got over. It was a great character. I am like one of the few people that actually enjoyed the JBL character. I thought he was just a giant raging asshole. And that was what it was supposed to be. And I think he was like kind of like a Ronald Reagan 1980s like conservative character. He was a bit of a racist, that played out in his Eddie Guerrero feud. Turns out him and Eddie Guerrero were like close to being best friends, and Eddie was the best one of his groomsmen at his wedding. So, but yeah, he had big time feuds with Eddie Guerrero, and obviously he had a big feud with John Cena that kind of helped put John Cena on the map. But it didn't really last long. He had a bunch of injuries, and then he ended up moving over to commentary, and I think he came back and had another run in the like 2010s, but that didn't last long. And he went back to commentary, and I think he returned to commentary a couple years ago again, but it just didn't last. So I still got coffee for JBL, but I am not one of those guys that was like, I can sit here and tell you that I hate JBL, because I just don't. When he was in his prime as the world champion, I actually did enjoy the character. I'm one of the few people that that are willingly, I'm willing to admit that I enjoyed it. But we have to be real about what he is right now. He is an old man in his 50s that hasn't wrestled in a decade. And he's doing indie shots everywhere. I think his Legends money might have dried up, or maybe he's just going through a midlife crisis, and he's like, I never really, I've seen all these guys going out there doing all these indie shots, and I never really had the opportunity to do that, or I just never did do that. So here I'm going to take that opportunity now while I still can. I don't know what his motives are. He's either broke or just needs some shit to do. But he is everywhere. He's been a game changer. He's going to be on OVW. Obviously, he did the AAA thing, and now he's here in TNA. So I don't know what this is about. I don't think that this is going to lead to JBL wrestling. I could be wrong. I think when you think that TNA is going to do the logical, smart thing, I think we need to start thinking the opposite, right? Logical and smart thing, JBL is just a corner man and a mentor to Nemeth, right? And logic would tell you that maybe that Nemeth turns heel, despite the fact that I think he's a good baby. I think he's a really good baby face, and they just turned Alexander heel. He's dead as a heel, by the way. He's done. He He turned heel at Slammiversary on Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry doesn't care. Joe Hendry hasn't done anything to get his revenge on Josh Alexander. He just moved on, right? And then Alexander ended up getting pinned by Nemeth at Slammiversary, and then he lost again last night, so he's dead. So they turned him heel for no fucking reason, right? There's just like it was just like, oh, okay, we just need something to do in Slammiversary, and then we'll give him a title shot, and then fuck him. He's off to the wayside. So, so I guess they could, since Josh Alexander's dead, I guess they could turn Nemeth heel if they wanted to. They got JBL. JBL could be an effective manager for Nick Nemeth if they wanted to do that. I just don't. I don't see the money in it. I don't see the value in it. I don't see it being a big deal. To be honest with you, I don't think it's what they think it is. It is not anything that is going to bring them any type of good attention that they want. That's the thing. So they're bringing in JBL. I think most people are just making fun of it at this point and saying, what the hell's going on? But so logic would say he's just going to be a mentor, manager, or whatever, corner man to Nemeth. Okay. What they shouldn't do, and this is what I think they could do, because again, this is TNA. We have to start looking at TNA as like they don't really book logically. They don't really book that's actually gonna, the fans are gonna like it, and then the fans are gonna make more, and then the company's gonna make the most money. A lot of times, what they do is the opposite of that. Okay, so I think there's a real possibility that they push JBL to a world title match against Nemeth. Two former WWE champions in a main event. I think that's a real possibility that we need to start preparing for. I don't know how soon they will get to that, but I think that they could. And you got JBL, who's, I don't know how old JBL is. One of you guys can look that up. He's got to be like 56, 57 years old. He had to retire due to multiple injuries, specifically to his back. Like his back was, the last time he wrestled, it was a WrestleMania match years ago against Rey Mysterio, and he could barely get through the match. He had to retire again a second time. So he's retired twice due to injury. So that's who they brought on. Billy's got me. He said JBL is 57. Yeah. And you know what? They're not even calling him JBL. They called him John Layfield. Because I'm pretty sure WWE might own that name. The Indies are calling him JBL, but TNA is calling him John Layfield because I think WWE has the rights to it. So, but yeah, so I just don't know, man. I don't know what they're thinking with JBL. I don't think that there's any value there at all. I don't think it brings them any positive attention. I don't think it does any business for them. I think it's nothing. It really is a nothing. I don't think it's a net positive. I don't think it's going to be a net negative unless they try to put him in the main event, unless they try to put him in the ring. And if they try to put him in the ring, it's like, you guys got so many talented people in that company, and you're just going to put this fucking guy in the ring. I just don't get it. Makes no sense to me. And you murdered Josh Alexander. He's dead. Nobody's ever going to care about him again. Well, hold on. All of a sudden my phone started playing it started playing the podcast. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't know. Oh, IO says GCW called him John Layfield too. Okay, so that's like a thing now. So he's going by John Layfield, he's not going by JBL. Dobby, I'm gonna get to you, brother. Me and Dobby had a debate last night. Dobby's he's defending TNA on their booking here. But he said Hendry's going to care when Alexander gets huge heat for costing him the title of NXT. Is that happening? I don't know how that happened. I don't know if that's happening. It's like there's no heat between Josh and Hendry. That heat's done. Like Hendry moved on. Hendry moved on. So just like all you guys told me that Hendry would get his heat back on Kazarian. Hendry moved on, and so did Kazarian. Kazarian beat his ass, eliminated him first in that battle royal, made him look like a geek, And all you guys are saying, no, no, he's gonna get his heat back. This is just a, this is just a thing. It's no big deal, guys. He's gonna get his heat back. He's gonna beat Kaz. No, Kaz moved on. Kaz moved on. They ended up booking him well after that. They they have they booked him well after that. So he's he has remained extremely over in spite of terrible, stupid ass booking. He has remained over. I'll give Joe Hendry that. Like he has got, um, he never got his heat back on Kazarian. They've just moved on. He has not gotten his heat back on Josh yet. He could, but he doesn't care. He's just fine with getting his ass kicked. He's fine being a little bitch. He's more worried about Moose, who he already beat. Makes no sense. You guys can say, well, he's still over. Okay, that argument holds up, but it doesn't make any logical sense based on the television show. Like if you had a main character in a movie who kept getting his ass kicked and was just moving on, it was getting screwed over and was just like, nah, no big deal. Would you care about that badass wrestler? No, you wouldn't. Could you imagine like Jean-Claude Van Damme in like a 90s action movie getting screwed over by Kazarian? Like Kazarian legit cheated, and then Van Damme's like, oh well, he cheated and he won, but I guess I'll move on to the next. And then it's like they should never go back to it by the end of the movie. And then like also in the same movie gets kicked low during a world title match, gets pinned, and then she doesn't talk about it. And the other guy keeps calling his punk card, and just nothing happens. And he's like, you know what? You're gonna kick me low, you're gonna punk me out, but you know what? This guy Moose, I already beat him, so I'm just gonna go keep beating him. so I'm gonna go keep wrestling him. Like, so like you guys could argue that he's still over. That yes, he is still over in spite of all that. It makes no sense. My argument is that it needs to make sense. If you guys are happy with it not making sense, be happy. Like what you like. If you want them to shit in your mouth and tell them it's chocolate ice cream, feel free. I just can't do it. That's just not me. I can't do it. I like it to make sense. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we all should fight for them to make sense. We need to push them to be better. We can't just like, well, hey, look, yeah, that would make sense, but at least the fans are clapping, guys. Okay, great. The fans are clapping. Gotcha. It could always be better. Moving on.